On this week's episode, I'm joined by Diana Del-Negro. Diana is a light architect and responsible for some of the most beautiful lighting designs in the heart of Lisbon. And this is her story. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, the Simple Life. And I'm really delighted, and I used the word delighted intentionally there, to introduce Diana Del-Negro. Diana, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. At such short notice, this is a very spontaneous recording. We're doing this at last minute, but I'm really excited to have you here, and everyone will understand why I said delighted when you just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'm an architect by training, but I've been doing architectural lighting or lighting design all my professional life, and that's been for 18 years now. And so that's why you just delighted.
Exactly. Diana, you've got a fascinating surname. It's not very Portuguese.
No, not at
So
all.
there's some mixed background there.
Yes, so on my father's side, my family came from the Alpine region of Italy, from the Trentino region. And so we do have some background there. And so people in Portugal usually don't understand my surname. And it's also always a funny story. There's always funny stories about that.
My surname is very complicated spelling, as you can see there on the screen.
Yeah.
So you can imagine when I get called at a queue at Centro Saúde or somewhere,
Yes.
even my first name, there's a bit of a problem, but it's fun. It's fun. It makes it entertaining. And Diana, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your terra. I know you're from Lisbon, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, I grew up here in Lisbon. The good thing is that we have very good weather in Portugal, so my childhood memories are always linked with riding my bicycle around the neighborhood or meeting my friends by ringing their doorbell, and everybody would gather outside. And when I was more grown up as a teenager, we would spend some time outside as well at night, and chat about life and our expectations, what we will do in the future. And that's my memories of life in Lisbon.
I mean, Lisbon's a world famous city. It's gained prominence now for so many years in international travel awards, and it's top city break destinations and all of these things. But what do you want people to know about your city?
Well, I moved to London in 2010, and at the time Lisbon was not very known. And I thought this is a hidden gem. And when I lived outside, when I lived abroad, I learned to appreciate my country more. All the little things that I didn't like much, I learned to appreciate them. Because things are not very different abroad, actually. There are defects everywhere, and things that we like as well. And sorry, I forgot what was the question again.
What you'd like people to know about Lisbon?
About Lisbon, yes. Well, it's a city with plenty of sunshine, good weather all year around. That's the thing that I missed the most when I lived in London. Also, people are usually very friendly, especially for foreigners. They're always very keen to help and to make people feel at home in a very genuine way, not expecting anything in return. That's something I always find very interesting. Yes, and I think that's mainly it.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
The food is also very good.
You missed the food. You missed the food and the wine when you were in London.
These things, yes, very much. These things seem so evident, so that I forget to mention them. Yes, the fish. Because here we have a variety of fish besides the sardine, which is obviously very known. That once you don't have this variety of fish, to eat in another country, you miss it, and you don't value it while you're here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I think we sometimes forget while we're here, how good it is and how lucky we are.
Yes.
Diana, you went to London because of the lighting side of things. I didn't know that it existed, this idea of a light architect. It's amazing. I would love just a business card that says Dylan, light architect. Like, just, can you organize one for me? Because I mean, it would just be amazing. But I didn't know that this kind of job existed, but it makes a lot of sense because, to put this all into perspective, Lisbon is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and a lot of that is because of the light. And we'll get into how that all happened for you. But yeah, how did you go from architecture to becoming a light architect and playing such a prominent role in this part of the city?
Yes, I started after I graduated from architecture. I started working at City Hall in Lisbon, and they felt like they needed an architect in the lighting department because there were only engineers there, and they had to make projects to light monuments. And they did not have enough knowledge how to interpret, because lighting something is to interpret it. You need to during the daytime, it's the sunlight which lights everything in a more or less even way, and so architecture needs to adapt to sunlight. Whereas at night, we have a wonderful tool of artificial lighting, which you can use to manipulate the way that things appear at night. And you need to know what you're doing, more or less, at least understand architecture. And so they thought I was needed there, but I didn't know much about lighting. And so I had to learn on the job. And I spent a lot of time reading books. And I learned that there weren't any books written, at least in Portuguese, and not many in other languages either. I looked in France, I looked in the UK, and at the time, I'm speaking in 2003, there weren't any, or at least not many. And so I traveled to France and I traveled to the UK in search of the sad books, because the internet was not as big as it is today. Google was in its first steps. And I collected a little bit of a library. And then I decided to do a master's on heritage conservation. So I knew exactly what I was doing. And I ended up writing a book on how to light monuments and how to do lighting, especially urban lighting, which actually it's there on the back. I remember, I can bring it here. Just
please.
One moment. It is. I think it has been sold off at the moment. At least its first. So it's architecture in light, and all copies have been sold. I think. At least I cannot find any more books to buy, and you can see the need there was for such a team to be written about. And then I realized I needed further education, or at least I got enthusiastic about the theme, and I decided to take a PhD in lighting, in artificial lighting. And so, firstly, I was admitted at a university in the United States, and I got a Fulbright grant, which was wonderful. But then I ended up going to London after all, due to personal reasons, and I went to UCL, and I spent 6 years there doing a PhD thesis on urban lighting, and so how to light a city, how to plan the lighting of the city, how to interpret the perception of the city, and also on the aspects of wayfinding. Because usually people think about lighting on the safety issues, but they forget on all other aspects, how it impacts the environment, how it impacts how well a person feels on a space, the aesthetics, the social aspects, because good lighting may attract a certain type of persons instead of other type of persons. The economic aspect as well, because you can save a lot of energy and money doing good lighting. And then, of course, the perception you have if a city is well lit, if the main monuments have a perception hierarchy, you can understand a city better than if it's a bit chaotic and you have an excess of lighting everywhere, like it happens in some Asian cities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I just think it looks beautiful. But now I'm seeing there's a lot of thought that goes and science that goes behind it.
Yes.
I mean, we were speaking earlier, and you spoke about that example of one of my favorite churches and lookout points in the city, which was Miradouro de Graça, and what you did there with the church and how it sort of made people gather around the building. Do you want to just share that story again?
Yes. I did the lighting of most of the belvederes or miradouros in Lisbon, and that includes most of its churches, because Lisbon has wonderful viewpoints, and usually they were occupied by the church or by convents or monasteries. And in Graça case, you have the convent, which is nowadays occupied by the military, and you have the church. And we started doing some tests, the final tests on how to light the church. And that church was very poorly lit before. And actually people who went there, you had bombs going there, you have people doing graffitis, you have some criminality, people doing drugs. And it was a very bad environment. And people wouldn't go there and enjoy the space, and it was a shame. And so when we did the first tests, we lit up the facades of the church, and just by lighting up the facades, the whole space changed. And we watched the social change of the space because immediately a group of young people gathered and they walked to the steps of the church, they sat there and they started talking to each other for a few minutes. And then, of course, the tests were over. We had regulated the lights, and we had it done, and we had to turn off the lights. And we heard this exclamation, "Oh!" They were enjoying it. And that's when I realized, this was in 2009, and I realized that lighting really had an effect on people's perception of space and how to enjoy a place. And we took it from from, let's say, the criminals or from a bad use of space to a very good use of space, and it's a very nice place to be.
It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places in the city. You've got the views of the lights of the city down below when the sun starts to set, and then you've got this beautiful soft light glowing up the church, and it's stunning. It's stunning. But maybe you can tell us about some of the other places some of the other projects that you've done in Lisbon.
Yes. So I've done. Besides most of its churches, I've done a Rotunda Marques de Pombal, which is the largest roundabout, I believe, that in the country. It has a statue in the middle, which was built for the rebuilder of the city. You probably know that the city was all devastated by a big earthquake in the 18th century. And Marques de Pombal helped to rebuild it. And so this statue represents his efforts in rebuilding the city and all the things he has done for the country at his time. And the interesting thing about this roundabout, I've done the illumination of the statue, but also of the roads that go around it. And the city hall had just changed the way the traffic flows through the roundabout. So it was very confusing. And so I tried to help the drivers by using two different color temperatures. Well, color temperatures is the color of light. So we have a sort of an orange in the middle, and this orange leads to orange avenues. And then on the outside, you have a white lighting, which is 3000 kelvins, if this has anything to do, but it's a more white, warm light. And the white light leads to the white avenues. So people, when they got there at nighttime, they would know, if I want to go to the white avenues, I need to go through the outer side of the roundabouts to get there. And then in the middle, you have the pavement of the statue lit, and it brings up the hierarchy of the statue. You have it as the main element there. And you also have a cycling path over there, and you have little dots of lights just indicating that you have a cycling path there. Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, we'll get on some of the others, because I want to speak about Marques Pombal. It's one of the most iconic monuments in the city, in the country, actually. So amazing that was one of your projects. Are you responsible for lighting it up green recently? You know, there was a team that won the.
No. That was just how do you call it? Ephemeral lighting. They just put some green lights there, I believe. I don't know.
It made me very happy. It made me very happy. Just saying.
Are you from Sporting?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations to you then.
Thank you. 19 years of suffering, but it's okay.
Yes.
I mean,
and then yes, I've done other projects. You were asking. I've done Praça do Comércio. The project is not implemented yet, but it does have some color changing to its facade. So when there are events, it can all turn blue or reds or green. I think you would like green. But it hasn't been implemented yet.
Okay, so that's coming up.
Done. I hope so, yes. I hope
exciting.
So. And besides that, I've been doing some work for Porto as well, for the city of Porto. We're trying to transform its city image at night, light some of its monuments, and for the image of the city center, which is World Heritage, as you know, to become much more with the right hierarchies and much more consolidated as an image, as a nighttime image. At the same time, I've been lighting a new hotel in Lisbon, which is also a very big contemporary art museum. It's going to be open, we hope, this year in Belém. And I've also done a very curious project, which was petrol stations, BP petrol stations in Leiria area. Yes.
Okay.
And they're very unusual. And if you see the images of the petrol stations, you understand why. When we lit them up at night, we had a traffic jam in the main road there in the national. It's called the National Road in English, but it's Estrada Nacional número 1. And we blocked the traffic because people all stopped to see what was happening there.
Okay, hold on. I think I remember seeing the photo, and I'm going to just see if I can pull it up quickly.
Okay. And that BP petrol station, if you turn on the video, it has dynamic lighting and the lights in the facade. This is the daytime view of the petrol station. Yes, wow. That's the daytime view. And then when the night comes down, the light comes in. And so they are very bright objects, and the objective was to attract travelers to go there and to buy gasoline and other stuff. And people started gathering there and taking their coffee, and it became an attraction point, actually, for the population there. It was something very funny that we were not expecting. Yes.
Beautiful. Actually, I wanted to just jump onto the other thing, which was the Marques Pombal. That's what you're talking about here.
Yes.
Because it's stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah, there.
Yes. Actually, this photograph, it's very difficult to take photographs at night. This photograph is not very, very good, but you can see the two different color temperatures of the lights, the outside one and the inside one, and then the big ring on the statue itself. But the outer layer, it's difficult to see in this photograph because the camera picks up the orange very well, and then everything else looks too white. But if you go there, it looks better. It does look better.
Another reason to go to Lisbon.
Yes.
So well, I love it because Marques Pombal was responsible for rebuilding the city, and you're one of the people responsible for relighting it. So I like that connection. It's amazing.
Have not thought of that.
I mean, how does it feel for you? This is your city. This is where you grew up. This is places that you went and went as a child and as a teenager and as a young adult. And you're now part of the reason that it's so beautiful at night and some of the most beautiful monuments are lit up. I mean, how does that make you feel, Diana?
Well, it makes me feel very proud and fortunate to be able to participate in making the city more beautiful, of course, or having made in the past the city more beautiful. Yes.
And I mean, why are the municipalities doing this? I mean, this is one of the things that I love about Portugal is this pride in our heritage and our buildings and our churches. And but I mean, from your perspective, why are municipalities focusing so much on these types of projects?
Well, one reason may be the attraction of tourism. One of the reasons why monuments are lit is to attract tourism. The other reason is to give people a sense of identity. Actually, people expect the main symbols of the city to be lit at night as well, because it gives them a sense of pride. So I think these are the two main reasons. And then, I mean, monuments have been lit since the 80s at least. The first illuminations were done for safety reasons in the early 90s. Well, lighting began with a candlelight, of course. In street lighting, there were a number of attempts to try to light the streets throughout the centuries, giving way to fires sometimes. It was never very successful all around the world. And it was only successful when gas was invented, gas lighting, and afterwards electricity, of course. And first of all, people started doing lights for the streets, only the streets, and then they remembered, well, maybe we should light the monuments as well, because it gives people a sense of pride, and they will want to see it. And then that's how it started.
And what do you love most about it? What do you love most about this work and these projects that you do?
It's the creativity involved in it. I never do something the same way twice. The chance I have to interpret a building and give it, and when you're able to see it in a new light, I mean, in a different way that you would see it in the daytime. And that's an honor to be able to do that with such amazing architectures and monuments. Also on new buildings, on hotels and restaurants. And when I'm able to interpret and speak to the architect and give him some points on how we should do this or that and change a little bit the architecture so we can hide lightings and make the space more special, more inviting, more cozy for the clients. It's amazing to be able to be part of the team and contribute to make spaces amazing and joyful. Yes.
You mentioned in a previous conversation you have I think a young daughter.
Yes, I have two young daughters.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. How old are they?
I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and do they know that Mom does these amazing things?
I sometimes I try to tell them, but I think they think it's normal. Oh yes, yes, that's normal. It's
But wow, what an
what people
amazing
do.
childhood that you grow up thinking, okay, well, this is just what we do here, because it's not always the case in a lot of cities.
Yeah, yes, it's true. You know, when people, the children think that it's a normal profession, a lot of people are doing this sort of stuff, and so. Yeah.
And I mean, what do you think? What do you think in terms of the city in general? And you know, we've spoken about those lookout points which make Lisbon such a unique thing. What else do you think contributes to making this such a warm place for people to visit, a friendly place to people to visit, and a place that people really enjoy?
I think one thing is the scale. It's not a very large city
Mm.
as other cities are, as New York or even London. It's still, although it's the capital of the country, it's a more or less small city and it's divided in districts. So you have always a sense of belonging to a neighborhood very easily. And usually people are very outgoing and nice. So you can have, it's easy to make friends. Um, Another thing I enjoy very much in the city is you always have a nice viewpoint to the river or to the sea somewhere, which is not because the city is so hilly. It has 7 hills or more, and at least in the city center. But you don't have that. You don't get that in other cities. For example, in London, it's very flat, and it's difficult to have a nice viewpoint of the city. You have to go high on a skyscraper to be able to see the whole city. And here you have always you walk through a street and all of a sudden you have a surprise, amazing view of the river or of another part of the city, and that's wonderful because you're never bored. It's not a monotonous city.
Which is your favorite? Your favorite lookout? Everybody's got their own. Everybody's got their favorite. Which is your favorite lookout point in the city, and
Oh,
why?
I very much enjoy Graça, of course, Miradouro da Graça, and also Nossa Senhora do Monte, which I also lit, which is on the other side of
Okay.
Graça. You have a very small chapel or church, and you have pine trees, and you have one of the most amazing views over the city. And it used to be absolutely deserts. Nobody went
Deserted.
there before I went to London. It was a surprise for me when I got back from London. The city was full, packed with tourists, whereas before it wasn't. So we were able to go to these amazing places, these amazing views, maybe have a date or so, and nobody would be around. And now I think it's a bit crowded, but still, these are special places for sure. Yes, Graça and Miradouro Nossa Senhora do Monte, they're both amazing.
Beautiful. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about Sao Roque? That was another one that you did as well.
Yes,
The church.
that's Largo Trindade Coelho, where there is the Church of São Roque and the facades of Santa Casa da Misericórdia. And so that was, I believe that was the first time when a building was made entirely with LEDs. I mean, not a building was made. The lighting of the building was made by LEDs. So
Okay.
the lighting is all made it's all placed on the floor, as so not to touch the monument. I always have a lot of care not to damage a monument because obviously you have to bring cables to bring electricity to the luminaires. And so in this case, I put it all on the floor as not to touch the building. And the square is mostly lit by the reflection of the facades. And there are also some small dots of light in the middle of the square. And the church is also lit. Its main elements are lit. Its columns and its I can't remember the name in English. Triangle on above the main facade. I can't remember there's a name for it, an architectural name. In Portuguese is frontão, but I can't remember the name.
That's okay, no problem.
And so it's mostly entirely made of LEDs, and this was made in 2007 and then implemented in 2009. So it was very early for LEDs, and it's still there. Yeah. So yes, that's the project for Sao Roque. Yes.
Amazing. Besides the project in Porto and with Praça Comércio, for people to understand, Praça Comércio is the big square that everybody will see on photos of Lisbon. It's the big square right in front of the river.
Square. Yeah, the largest square I think in the country. Yes.
So that's exciting that the project's coming that's coming up there. But what else are you looking forward to and working on at the moment?
Well, there are a few hotels which I cannot speak about it yet.
Okay.
But, yes, they eventually. I've started working on at least one of them. And the other hotel, which I've been working on for a while, it's a very big one in Belém, and also a museum. It has a very nice garden as well. The owner is one of the largest private collectors of contemporary arts in Portugal. And so I think it will be a wonderful architectural project, and hopefully very nice lighting project as well. And so I'm doing all the interiors and the exteriors and the landscape lighting.
Okay,
and,
sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. How can people follow you online, Diana, and just keep up to date with some of your work and your projects and see all of what you've done?
They can look at my website, dianadelnegro.com. They can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and eventually on Facebook. I need to create a page on Facebook. There's something on my list I haven't done yet. Yes.
Okay. So we'll put links in the show notes so that people can follow you online, see the beautiful things that you're doing, and get in touch. Yes, I want to say thank you because we did this last minute, and I really appreciate your time. But also because it's one of the things that I truly love about Lisbon is the light and some of these ways the buildings are lit up. And I know from friends, family, clients that have visited, it makes people happy. So thank you so much. It's a beautiful thing.
Good, thank you. You're very welcome.
Diana, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Exactly. Well, I think that the things that make people happier are the simplest things in life. So I think this country makes people happy. At least it makes me happy.
Like good lighting.
Like good lighting, yes.
So thank you, Diana. I love this conversation. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
That's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Diana, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. And as we say in Portugal, abraço. Welcome to the simple life.